We are live.
Yay! It is hump day. Happy hump day. I am old new dude. He is.
Richard York, Asher's Trueborn son.
This is Theon 3 of A Clash of Kings. Um,
Yes.
and if you've seen any of these, we start with the brains of the operation, which is Richard. He will say what he saw in the chapter, and then I'll jump in with my stupid stuff. Oh, there you go. Microphone
Echo,
was
echo,
pointing a little
echo.
bit. Yeah, I like to hear myself talk. But I'll jump in with my stupid stuff every now and then and take it away, Richard.
Thank you, sir. Clash 37, Theon 3. Dagmar Cleftjaw should attempt the impossible, taking Torrhen Square. And of course, we know he's not only going to he's going to succeed in this impossible task and then hold it for the rest of the books, at least as have been published to date.
Yeah. I'm going to step away real quick and get my drink. I'll be right back, man.
All right.
Go
Theon
on.
wiped. I'll go ahead and get started.
All right.
Theon wiped the spittle off his cheek with the back of his hand. Robb will gut you, Greyjoy, Benford Tallheart screamed. He'll feed your turncloak's heart to his wolf, you piece of sheepdung. Hit that like. Thank you, Lady Thistle. Aaron Damphair's voice cut through the insults like a sword through cheese. Now you must kill him. I have questions for him first, said Theon. Fuck your questions. Benford hung bleeding and helpless between Stig and Warlock. You'll choke on them before you get any answers from me, Craven, Turncloak. Uncle Aaron was relentless. When he spits on you, he spits on all of us. He spits on the drowned god. He must die. My father gave me the command here, Uncle, and sent me to counsel you and to watch me. Theon dare not push matters too far with his uncle. The command was his, yes, but his men had a faith in the drowned god that they did not have in him, and they were terrified of Aaron Damphair. I cannot fault them for that. You'll lose your head for this, Greyjoy. The crows will eat the jelly of your eyes. Benford tried to spit again, but only managed a little blood. The others bugger your wet god. Tallheart, you've spit away your life, Theon thought. Stig, silence him, he said. They forced Benford to his knees. Warlock tore the rabbit skin off his belt and jammed it between his teeth to stop his shouting. Stig unlimbered his axe. No, Aaron Damphair declared. He must be given to the god, the old way. What does it matter? Dead is dead. Take him then. You will come as well. You command here. The offering should come from you. That was more than Theon could stomach. You are the priest, Uncle. I'll leave the god to you. Do me the same kindness and leave the battles to me. He waved his hand, and Warlock and Stig began to drag their captive off toward the shore. Aaron Damphair gave his nephew a reproachful look, then followed. Down to the pebbled beach they would go, to drown Benford Tallheart in salt water, the old way. Ned would give him the same look. He who passes the sentence should drown the sacrifice, or something like that.
Yeah. Weren't you saying something about the rabbit tails and all that stuff?
No, I do have some. I did notice on an additional read that now there's a lot of white fur symbolism, which of course would represent the Starks. In fact, Theon's going to kill a guy who's wearing white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perhaps it's a kindness, Theon told himself as he stalked off in the other direction. Stig was hardly the most expert of headsmen, and Benford had a neck thick as a boar's, heavy with muscle and fat. I used to mock him for it, just to see how angry I could make him, he remembered. That had been what, 3 years past? When Ned Stark had ridden to Torrhen Square to see Sir Hallman, Theon had accompanied him and spent a fortnight in Benford's company. So this is actually foreshadowing for, when Theon is going to attempt to act like Ned and do beheadings himself and so forth, right?
Right.
He could hear the rough noises of victory from the crook in the road where the battle had been fought. If you go so far as to call it a battle, more like slaughtering sheep, if truth be told. Sheep fleeced in steel, but sheep nonetheless. Climbing a jumble of stone, Theon looked down on the dead men and dying horses. The horses had deserved better. Timer and his brothers had gathered up what mounts had come through the fight unhurt, while Erzin and Black Lauren silenced the animals too badly wounded to be saved. We're going to hear a little more about Black Lauren later.
Yeah.
The rest of his men were looting the corpses. Gavin Harlaw knelt on a dead man's chest, sawing off his finger to get out a ring. Paying the iron price. My Lord Father would approve. Theon thought of seeking out the bodies of the 2 men he'd slain himself to see if they had any jewelry worth the taking, but the notion left a bitter taste in his mouth. He could imagine what Eddard Stark would have said. Yet that thought made him angry too. Stark is dead and rotting, and not to me, he reminded himself. Sure, Theon, we can tell. Old Botley, who was called Fish Whiskers, sat scowling by his pile of plunder while his 3 sons added to it. One of them was in a shoving match with a fat man named Todrick. So I guess that means Christopher's probably here, right? His 3 sons anyway. Does that mean Christopher's here? No, Christopher can't be here.
Well,
Christopher can't be here.
Well, doesn't he come? Where is him and Asha at? What?
Yeah, that's my point. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Ash is going to show up and tell Theon, and he's going to leave with her. Then, okay, yeah, he can't be here. Okay, I forgot. Ash actually is going to come to Winterfell, right?
Right.
Yeah. So he is here. I don't even care about Ned balling into his old tunic and smelling his pillows. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted by thinking about Christopher there. Okay, one of them was in a shoving match with a fat man named Todrick, who was reeling among the slain with a horn of ale in one hand and an axe in the other, clad in a cloak of white fox fur, only slightly stained by the blood of its previous owner. Drunk, Theon decided, watching him bellow. It was said that the Iron Men of old had oft been blood drunk in battle, so berserk that they felt no pain and feared no foe, but this was a common ale drunk. And actually LML's talked about the whole berserker thing, right? And how John seems to do that.
Yeah.
Wex, my bow and quiver. The boy ran and fetched them. Theon bent the bow and slipped the string into its notches as Todrick knocked down the Botley boy and flung ale into his eyes. Fish Whiskers leapt up cursing, but Theon was quicker. He drew on the hand that clutched the drinking horn, figuring to give them a shot to talk about, but Todrick spoiled it by lurching to one side just as he loosed. The arrow took him through the belly. The looters stopped to gape. Theon lowered his bow. No drunkards, I said, and no squabbles over plunder. On his knees, Todrick was dying noisily. Botley, silence him. Fish Whiskers and his sons were quick to obey. They slit Todrick's throat as he kicked feebly, and were stripping him of cloak and rings and weapons before he was even dead. Now they know I mean what I say.
Real quick thing.
Yeah.
I know at this point in the story, people don't like Theon, but he is very quick on the process of, instead of saying, "Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that,"
right?
He automatically went into
it's quick thinking on his part. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, he's not as quick as Tyrion, but he is very, very quick-witted.
Yep, I agree. Now they know I mean what I say. Lord Balon might have given him the command, but Theon knew that some of his men saw only a soft boy from the Greenlands when they looked at him. Anyone else have the thirst? No one replied. Good. He kicked at Benford's fallen banner, clutched in the dead hand of the squire who'd borne it. A rabbit skin had been tied below the flag. Why rabbit skins? He had meant to ask, but being spat on had made him forget his questions. He tossed his bow back to Wex and strode off, remembering how elated he'd felt after the Whispering Wood, and wondering why this did not taste as sweet. Tall Heart, you bloody overproud fool. You never even sent out a scout.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Charles is here.
Now it's a party.
They'd been joking and even singing as they'd come on, the 3 trees of Talhart streaming above them, while rabbit skins flapped stupidly from the points of their lances. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with rabbit skins, neither does Theon. The archers concealed behind the gorse had spoiled the song with a rain of arrows, and Theon himself had led his men-at-arms out to finish the butcher's work with dagger, axe, and warhammer. He had ordered their leader spared for questioning, only he had not expected it to be Bedford Tallheart. His limp body was being dragged from the surf when Theon returned to his sea bitch. The mast of his longship stood outlined against the sky along the pebbled beach. Of the fishing village, nothing remained but cold ashes that stank when it rained. The men had been put to the sword, all but a handful that Theon had allowed to flee to bring the word to Torrance Square. Their wives and daughters had been claimed for salt wives, those who were young enough and fair. The crones and the ugly ones had simply been raped and killed, or taken for thralls if they had useful skills and did not seem likely to cause trouble. Theon had planned that attack as well, bringing his ships up to the shore in the chill darkness before the dawn and leaping from the prow with a long axe in his hand to lead his men into the sleeping village. He did not like the taste of any of this. What choice did he have? Yes, what choice What choice did the man who's about to go against his orders and go off on his own? What choice did he have?
Well, I mean, if you stop and think about it, he does the exact same thing that Euron does with the shields.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Euron comes in from deep sea straight into the shields, but Theon does it straight in in the dawn light where people can't see. So,
Okay.
I mean, Theon's quite smart.
Yep. His thrice damned sister was sailing her black wind north even now, sure to win a castle of her own. Lord Balon had let no word of the hosting escape the Iron Islands. Theon's bloody work along the stony shore would be put down to sea raiders out for plunder. The Northmen would not realize their true peril, not until the hammers fell on Deepwood Mott and Moat Cailin. And after all is done and won, they will make songs for that bitch Asha and forget that I was even here. That is, if he allowed it. Dagmar Cleftjaw stood by the high-carved prow of his longship, Foam Drinker. Theon had assigned him the task of guarding the ships. Otherwise, men would have called it Dagmar's victory, not his. A more prickly man might have taken that for a slight, but the Cleftjaw had only laughed. The day is won, Dagmar called down, and yet you do not smile, boy. The living should smile, for the dead cannot. Dagmar is so underrated, and we definitely learn in this chapter where Theon, the smiley boy, that smiley boy Greyjoy gets his smiles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's awful funny that he is known for his smiles and smirks and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in this chapter, he has no smile.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He smiled himself to show how it was done. It made for a hideous sight. Under a snowy white mane of hair, Dagmar Cleftjaw had the most gut-churning scar Theon had ever seen, the legacy of the long axe that had near killed him as a boy. The blow had splintered his jaw, shattered his front teeth, and left him 4 lips where other men had but 2. A shaggy beard covered his cheeks and neck, but the hair would not grow over the scar, so a shiny seam of puckered, twisted flesh divided his face like a crevice through a snowfield. The living should smile, for the dead cannot. Tywin, hold my beer. And notice the spelling of beer.
Yeah.
We could hear them singing, the old warrior said. It was a good song, and they sang it bravely. Also, Dagmar, in addition to clearly being the Blackfish of the Ironborn, he also has major hound vibes, right?
Yeah.
They sang better than they fought. Harps would have done them as much good as their lances did. How many men are lost? Of ours? Theon shrugged. Todrick. I killed him for getting drunk and fighting over loot. So, Lizzie says, holy shit. One of the things that's kind of funny about this is that it kind of reminds me of Rhaenys's father. So he was specifically referred to as being like even greater than Aegon the Conqueror because he won a war without losing a single man.
Okay.
Something that that Aegon could never have done. Basically, was the idea. The father of the woman who says there have been no wars. Anyway, the show. Anyway, sorry. Some men are born to be killed. A lesser man might have been afraid to show a smile as frightening as his, yet Dagmar grinned more often and more broadly than Lord Balon ever had. Anyway, you gotta love the confidence.
Oh yeah. You gotta own it, just like Tyrion said.
Yeah. Ugly as it was, that smile brought back 100 memories. Theon had seen it often as a boy when he jumped a horse over a mossy wall or flung an axe and split a target square. He'd seen it when he blocked a blow from Dagmar's sword, when he put an arrow through a seagull on the wing, when he took the tiller in hand and guided a longship safely through a snarl of foaming rocks. He gave me more smiles than my father and Eddard Stark together. Even Robb. He ought to have won a smile the day he'd saved Bran from that wildling, but instead he'd gotten a scolding, as if he were some cook who'd burned the stew. There's a reason Theon hoped to be greeted by his parents or even Dagmar Cleftjaw.
Yeah.
Right. He holds Dagmar in much higher regard than his own parents.
I don't blame him.
No, absolutely. You and I must talk, Uncle, Theon said. Dagmar was no true uncle, only a sworn man with perhaps a pinch of Greyjoy blood 4 or 5 lives back, and that from the wrong side of the blanket. Yet Theon had always called him uncle nonetheless. Come onto my deck, then. There were no milords from Dagmar, not when he stood on his own deck. On the Iron Islands, every captain was a king aboard his own ship. He climbed the plank to the deck of the phone drinker in 4 long strides, and Dagmar led him back to the cramped aft cabin where the old man poured a horn of sour ale and offered Theon the same. He declined. We did not capture enough horses. A few, but, well, I'll make do with what I have, I suppose. Fewer men means more glory. What need we have of horses? Like most Iron Men, Dagmar preferred to fight on foot or from the deck of a ship. Horses will only shit on our decks and get in our way. If we sailed, yes, Theon admitted. I have another plan. He watched the other carefully to see how he would take that. Without the Cleftjaw, he could not hope to succeed. Commander, no. The men would never follow him if both Aeron and Dagmar opposed him. He had no hope of winning over the sour-faced priest. We saw what you did there, George, with the other.
Yep.
Your Lord Father commanded us to harry the coast, no more. Eyes pale as sea foam watched Theon from under those shaggy white eyebrows. Was it disapproval he saw there, or a spark of interest? The latter, he thought, hoped.
Quick question.
You are my... Yeah.
Hey, Chris. The udder. That's what I used to say every time. The udders. Every time he uses the phrase "the other," I wonder if the person that the other is referring to, in this case, is Cleftjaw. I wonder if they will eventually become whites. If that's
maybe. Mostly what I see is it seems to be usually it's people who are sworn to serve higher lords and things, which to me implies that there really is a great other, like the Night King in the show,
right?
Right, because it's just about every single time it seems like others refers to people that are sworn to serve, that are serving someone else. Anyway,
yeah, it's one of those thoughts. If I don't say it, I'll forget it.
Sure. You are my father's man, his best man, and always have been. Pride, Theon thought. He is proud. I must use that. His pride will be the key. There is no man in the Iron Islands half so skilled with spear or sword. You've been too long away, boy. When you left, it was as you say, but I am grown old in Lord Greyjoy's service. The singers call Andric best now. Andric the Unsmiling, they name him. A giant of a man. He serves Lord Drum of Old Wick. And Black Lauren and Carl the Maid are near as dread. So we already mentioned that Black Lauren is here. Right. Carl the Maid is, Ash's lover. And then we have the very best of them, Andric the Unsmiling, who serves Lord Drum. So he goes to speak for Lord Drum, and he's one of the ones that is given a shield island. So last we see him, he's holding one of the shields.
Is it the shield that they're on, or does it really matter?
I don't know that it matters. I mean, yeah. I feel like probably the more important one is that he takes Victarion's best guy from him there, right?
Right.
This Andric may be a great fighter, but men do not fear him as they fear you. Aye, that's so, Dagmar said. The fingers curled around the drinking horn were heavy with rings, gold and silver and bronze, set with chunks of sapphire and garnet and dragon glass. He'd paid the iron price for every one, Theon knew. If I had a man like you in my service, I should not waste him on this child's business of harrying and burning. This is no work for Lord Balon's best man. Dagmar's grin twisted his lips apart and showed the brown splinters of his teeth. Nor for his true-born son, he hooted. I know you too well, Theon. I saw you take your first step, helped you bend your first bow. 'Tis not me who feels wasted. By rights, I should have my sister's command, he admitted, uncomfortably aware of how peevish that sounded. You take this business too hard, boy. It is only that your lord father does not know you. With your brothers dead and you taken by the wolves, your sister was his solace. He learned to rely on her, and she has never failed him. Nor have I. The Starks knew my worth. I was one of Brendan Blackfish's picked scouts, and I charged with the first wave in the Whispering Wood. I was that close to crossing swords with the Kingslayer himself. Theon held his hands 2 feet apart. Darren Hornwood came between us and died for it. Why do you tell me this? Dagmar asked. It was me who put your first sword in your hand. I know you are no craven. Does my father? The hoary old warrior looked as if he had bitten into something he did not like the taste of. It is only... Theon, the boy Wolf is your friend, and these Starks had you for 10 years. I am no Stark, Lord Eddard saw to that. I am a Greyjoy, and I mean to be my father's heir. How can I do that unless I prove myself with some great deed? You are young. Other wars will come, and you shall do your great deeds. For now we are commanded to harry the stony shore. Let my uncle Aaron see to it. I'll give him 6 ships, all but Foam Drinker and Sea Bitch, and he can burn and drown to his god Surfite. The command was given you, not Aaron Damp Hair. So long as the harrying is done, what does it matter? No priest could do what I mean to, nor would I ask of you. I have a task that only Dagmar Cleftjaw can accomplish. Theon needs a lesson from the half-hand. Do not balk from all that is asked of you. Perhaps your dad would respect you more if you did what he asked successfully, says Sanji.
Hey, Sanji. Yes, I agree with you.
Well, I like this thing. I have a task that only Dagmar Cleftjaw can accomplish.
Yeah.
Because he and Dagmar think that Dagmar can't do it, but he can. Anyway, yeah. Dagmar took a long draught from his horn. Tell me. He's tempted, Theon thought. He likes this Reaver's work no better than I do. If my sister can take a castle, so can I. Asha has 4 or 5 times the men we do. Theon allowed himself a sly smile. But we have 4 times the wits and 5 times the courage. Your father will thank me when I hand him his kingdom. I mean to do a deed that the harpers will sing up for 1,000 years. He knew that would give Dagmar a pause. A singer made a song about the axe that cracked his jaw in half, and the old man loved to hear it. Whenever he was in his cups, he would call for a reaving song, something loud and stormy, that told of dead heroes and deeds of wild valor. His hair is white and his teeth are rotten, but he still has a taste for glory. What would my part in the scheme of yours be? What would my part be in the scheme of yours, boy? Dagmar Cleftjaw asked after a long silence, and Theon knew he had won. To strike terror into the heart of the foe, as only one of your name could do. You'll take the great part of our force and march on Torn Square. Helman Tallheart took his best men south, and Benford died here with their sons. His uncle Leopold will remain with some small garrison. If I had been able to question Benford, I would know just how small. Make no secret of your approach. Sing all the brave songs you like. I want them to close their gates. Is this Torn Square a strong keep? Strong enough. The walls are stone, 30 feet high, with square towers in each corner and a square keep within. Stone walls cannot be fired. How are we to take them? We do not have the numbers to storm even a small castle. You will make camp outside their walls and set to building catapults and siege engines. That is not the old way. Have you forgotten? Iron men fight with swords and axes, not by flinging rocks. There's no glory in starving out a foeman. Leopold will not know that. When he sees you raising siege towers, his old woman's blood will run cold and he will bleat for help. Stay your archers, uncle, and let the raven fly. The castellan at Winterfell is a brave man, but age has stiffened his wits as well as his limbs. When he learns that one of his king's bannermen is under attack by the fearsome Dagmar Cleftjaw, he will summon his strength and ride to Tallheart's aid. It is his duty. Sir Roderick is nothing if not dutiful. Any force he summons will be larger than mine, Dagmar said. And these old knights are more cunning than you think, or they would never have lived to see their first gray hair. You set us a battle we cannot hope to win, Theon. This Torn Square will never fall. There are old cell swords and bold cell swords, but no old bold cell swords.
There you go.
Theon smiled. It's not Torn Square I mean to take. So Dagmar's last orders were to attempt to take Torn Square. So he will, and succeed, and hold it for the rest of the series.
Well, chances are the Leopold, whatever his name is, doesn't have jack for any men left to defend it.
Right. Up next, Clash 38, Arya 8. The ghost names her second victim.
Yeah, I love that chapter. LML either has a video coming out or did a video coming out talking about the Squishers and of course the men on the 3 sisters are descendant from Squishers with their web feet or whatever, web hand.
Okay, sure.
But he's also suggesting that the Ironborn are descendant of Squishers. And my comment was, with the Squishers killing of men and taking of women, would that be a carried down practice that the Ironborn still do today of taking of the thought wife and the thralls
you're thinking the old way comes from the Squishers, basically.
Right.
Okay, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I'd never thought about. I mean, the sisters, yeah, with the webs, but with
it's
the
definitely
Ironborn,
implied. It's definitely implied that they're not of the same First Men stock as the rest of the First Men stock, right?
right?
And that they've been there longer, basically, right? So they're sort of the prior to the First Men, kind of. So that kind of makes sense that they'd be descended from something else entirely.
Right. Well, I mean, the way I understand it, the Hightowers and the Ironborn were in Westeros before the First Men came.
Yeah.
There might be a third. I can't remember if there is or not, but those two were definitely here before the First Men came. The old ways,
the old ways, the squishy way.
Old nimble dick crab.
I think Nimble Dick gets a little too much love from the fandom, to be honest. How does Brienne learn of him? He's bragging that he's bragging that he basically took what might have been two girls and led them off and stranded them and basically left them to die, right? He's literally bragging that he did this, and it's like, of course Brienne doesn't trust him. She shouldn't.
I mean, yeah, he's a con man, but his personality.
Oh no, I get it. I get why people like him. He certainly is a fun chapter. He's fun to read, but I'm not claiming it's not fun. It's definitely fun. I'm just I just think people really need to realize, she's supposed to not trust him.
Right. I mean, I would drink a beer with the guy, but I wouldn't let him leave me anywhere.
I wouldn't trust him at all. That's my point.
Well, the fact that he hangs out in the worst possible tavern.
Nimblest stick in the game.
There you
friends. Go. Hey, man.
Hey. How's your day going? I mean, I mean, the fact that he hangs out in the worst bar possible that we've ever even heard about in this story tells you all you need to know about Nimble Dick.
Right. Well, and again, he literally is bragging about what he did and perfectly content that it may have been a couple girls that he let off to potentially die, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think the guy needed to die.
Hey, well, I mean, he stranded them, and so their ability to survive there for long is very questionable, right?
Yeah, I do like his tales about the whispers,
again, hugely entertaining. I'm not saying that, and I just. You see so much love for him that it's like, I worry that some of it's not giving him the skepticism he deserves.
I wonder how much of the Whisper's story is actually true.
Yeah, who knows? The whole thing with all the myths, right? They're all supposed to be
exaggerated.
We're supposed to wonder, but is there a gem of truth in there, right? And
right. Well, that's like going through the book of World Book of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
You get like 3 accounts of how dragons were born, all this kind of stuff. You got to sit there and pick and choose bits and pieces. It's like when we're talking about Sir Loras, and that we get that he was shot with the crossbow in the shoulder, the leg.
Yeah.
He's got three ribs broken, and then the oil on there. You got to sit there and filter through that information and try and figure out
right, and the way you've got these his story and Lewin Martell's story and the elder brother's story are all sort of the same story, right? And anyway, yeah.
You got anything else for this chapter?
No, I don't think so. It's another short chapter, and there's a lot of short chapters in Clash.
Yeah. I wonder, is Arya short? I don't got the book in front of me. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
But I'll sit there and try to watch somebody else's theory we can talk about at the end. I usually try to look at stuff that's related to the chapter that we're doing, whether it's not exactly about the chapter, but at least about the person.
Right. That's why I was trying to understand what happened to these all these great fighters. Right. It's like, okay, this is interesting that we're getting all these names, and so we've got, and how many of them are important Ironborn are actually present here and so forth. As we said, like Tristaver's probably here and going to go back with Asha when she shows up to Winterfell. Is probably what's going on there, right?
Yeah. Which, I mean, Tristan and Asha are characters that, even though they're shit, you tend to kind of like. And then him being part of the group that takes Winterfell, with him not naming him, you don't sit there and hold the taking of Winterfell against him. So there's probably deeds that he did while at Winterfell that would probably turn us, the audience, a little against him.
Right. So, and we know that that Botley and his eldest son are gonna gonna die up here, right? So it's good to keep our eye on what's going on there.
Well,
but yeah, I also want to specifically keep my eye on the greatest of the Ironborn fighters that are mentioned and so forth.
Right, definitely. When he mentions them twice, if not more times, there's somebody you definitely need to pay attention to.
Yep.
All right. Aria Friday, same bat time, same bat channel. I mean, short and easy today. I'm still dealing with a car, so it's probably for the best. I will be on chat at 1:15, Lady Thistle and Lizzie. So if I see you then, that's cool. We will see everybody Wednesday. Thank you, Lady Thistle, Lizzie, Krista Crow, Amanda Lopez. Thank you for joining us. Sanji, thank you. Valencar, I finally answered all your comments on the comment section for like 6 or 7 videos. Sorry about that. And Sir Dave Zilla had been sick, so I'm hoping you feel short
and easy like Tyrion.
So we'll see y'all Friday. Y'all take care and have fun. Bye, Richard.
Have a good one.